A familiar face returns to Nuneaton today, and if I gave you 100 guesses, you wouldn't guess who it was, but he's kind of turned our season around. Hello and welcome to part 43 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, we're at home against York and then also at home against Gloucester, both in the National League North. 2 consecutive home games. That sounds like a bit of a toll on the ground staff. Well, at least they weren't 2 consecutive days of consecutive home games. Where was it? It's in here somewhere. I'm making a big deal of it and now I can't find it. It was back here. There it is. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Both home games. Evening kickoff on New Year's Eve against Torquay. Torquay fans must have loved that all the way to Nuneaton on New Year's Eve. So that's going to finish, 9:30ish. Then we had a bit of a barbecue, New Year's Eve fireworks. The fans just slept on the terraces, and then I just walked around poking them with a stick at 1 o'clock on New Year's Day, waking them all up, getting some chips with gravy down their necks, ready for the 3 o'clock kickoff the very next day, which we managed to win against Barrow. So clearly we play better with a hangover. But as you can see, that win was the start of something a little bit special. 2023 is going to be our year. Less positive, Sedwin Scott got injured around here. More positive, though, is that led to a tactical change that firstly released Nyron Hurd. He's now playing in a much more attacking position and loving it, but also has seen a return to the team of Livesey Mason, who has scored 8 goals in his last 3 games, including 2 hat-tricks. He is loving life as well. None of them are the returnee, though. The returnee is the man who's allowed us to change our tactic into something I said I'd never use because I don't like it. We're doing a 4-3-3, and the returning hero is Joel Kaduba. You might remember Joel Kaduba from Bath in non-league to legend, but he did have 2 seasons with us at Nuneaton as well, where we were down in the National League North. I played him twice, both off the bench. Kept him for another year. He then went on a free transfer to Queen of the South in the Scottish Championship. None of us understood how he took that step up from National League North, but he didn't play for them either. They must have released him sometime around November, December time, because when I went looking for a defensive midfielder so I could do this system, he was the only realistic option. He's not very good. He's only 2-star, but he does still have that big potential ability that made us sign him in the first place. And he is, in theory, the best defensive midfielder we've got at the club, but Lionel Stone is also as good as him, so he's not great. But he's played the last 5 games in a row, and if we just have a look at those last 5 games, after the season we've had 4 wins and a draw. So, Joel Kaduba, 4 years after we signed him for the first time, 2 years after we released him, has returned and turned us into the best team in the Conference National League. Not North, goodness me. As it stands, 31 games played, we're 10 points behind Eastleigh. I think a playoff push is probably unrealistic unless we maintain the form we're currently in. But remember, we're trying to do that without Sedwin Scott, who's got that injury. He is back in training now, so you might even see him in the second game. But I don't know how we break up this front 3, which has been so effective. Phyllis Kirk as well can play as an inside forward. He can play on the right wing, can play up front. That whole front 3 is doing really, really well. I don't know how we get Scott back into the team. Perhaps it's time for him to sit out for a little while, especially if Mason continues scoring goals for fun. So, our team, we've got Can in goal, a back 4 of Anderson, Stone, Laskowski and Moore, with Kaduba in behind Hurd and Ball. So Hurd is now a box-to-box midfielder, and he's controlling games and playing really well. Ball is playing that little bit further forward, but not as far forward as he was when we were doing the 4-3-1-2. Then it's Mason up front, Boro as a left winger on support, and Omar is playing as a winger on attack, which apparently he's really rather good at. But as I say, Phyllis Kirk and Hartley both can go in either of those positions as well. So there's plenty of options for us, plenty of wide options, which I didn't expect us to have, really. I guess we've been playing 4-4-2 for a little while, but the fact that so many of them can play as actual proper wingers rather than just wide midfielders was a bit of a pleasant surprise. And the fact that we were able to bring in someone that we've seen do a job for us with Bath. He never really was any good at Nuneaton. We never found a way to fit him in a team. We had him at the same time we had Jordan Nicholson. We experimented with a diamond for about 3 weeks. It didn't work. Kaduba wasn't our first choice defensive midfielder. I think Tom Elliott was playing there at that point, but apparently he can't do that anymore because we tried and he wasn't any good. So there was no way if we had to choose between an attacking midfielder and a defensive midfielder, at the time we had Jordan Nicholson, Kaduba was never going to get in the team, and that's why he didn't. But he was good for Bath in this league as well. It wasn't in the promotion season, I don't think. I think it was when we were in the National League. He was very good as a defensive midfielder for us. So fingers crossed, he continues the form he's in. And what was I telling you about Nyren Hurd? That is the third absolute screamer he's scored since converting into a box-to-box midfielder, which apparently he's not capable of playing. But just getting him that bit further forward, he's spent all season as a deep line playmaker on defend, not getting in these goal-scoring positions. Now he just sort of hovers around on the edge of the area and smashes it into the top corner every now and again, which is just wonderful to see. Right, where are York I haven't even looked where York are in the league. I don't know if this is a team we're supposed to be beating. York are... We did beat Morecambe recently as well, who were second. York are rock bottom. Okay, we should be thumping them. 1-0 is not enough, lads. I've talked this up quite a lot. We need to go on and win this game convincingly. Sedwin Scott's going to be back soon, remember? Right, Hurd loses out on the edge of the area, and we are a little bit exposed at the back because Kaduba's gone so far forward, but does make it back. Mason now is in. Can he add to his recent goal tally? Of course he can. 9 goals in 4 games now for Livesey Mason. This is the kind of form we got from him at the start of last season, when he looked like he was going to be the man, but then Sedwin Scott emerged as the real man. But Mason getting his opportunity again, saying, actually, you know what? I was the man all along. That Sedwin fella, he can't do this, can he? And he really can't. We've struggled to get goals out of Scott all season, but Mason, as a lone striker, he is an absolute hero. And according to the star ratings, he's only the 4th best striker at the club. But shows that star ratings aren't always all they're cracked up to be. Omar's not having the best of games, so we can bring on Hartley. Hurd, we're going to bring on Elliott for him because Hurd's got the injury. And you know what? We're going to bring on Danny Philliskirk as well to have him as an inside forward on that left-hand side and just continue as we were. Actually, slight tweak. I want Philliskirk to be attacking and Hartley can drop back on support. I don't want them both on attacking because I don't want to push too far. I always feel like it makes sense to have one of them on attack, one of them on support. But if one's an inside forward, he should be the one on attack. We want goals out of Philliskirk from that left wing. Mason's in again. It's 3-0. It's 10 goals in 4 games now for Mason. I ask again, how on earth do we get Sedwin Scott back into this team? We can't change the tactic because the tactic is working. This is 6 games unbeaten now in what had been a miserable season up to this point. But also, Scott can only play as a centre forward, and he obviously can't displace Mason from this team. So he's just going to have to sit a few games out on £3,000 a week for the next 2 years. Oh, goodness me. Got to stop overpaying players at this level. But I am enjoying the fact that we finally have a tactic that is making us look good again. I know I said in the last episode we were going to stick with the 4-4-2 for a while. It just felt so toothless. Even when we were winning, it was boring. I want attacking, free-flowing football. I want goals. And we're finally getting that. And hopefully we'll get a bit more of it against Gloucester. As of right now, still 10 points behind Eastleigh. Now with, 14 games to go? It's not impossible. It's just really unlikely. Oh, media, what are you doing to me? If this was non-Leeds a legend, I'd go like a shot. Posh have sacked Steve Evans, why he was manager in the first place, I don't know. But I am the favourite for the Posh job. Oh, what are you doing to me? Oh, I wouldn't even have to change the name of the series. It could still be Backing the Boro if I was Peterborough. No changes for the Gloucester game, which means, in a momentous occasion, I'm leaving a fit Sedwin Scott on the bench. He's just not been the same player this year. Might do him some good. Let's get into the game. Hopefully continue the kind of form that we've been in. And this would make it 7 games unbeaten, I think, if we manage to win this one as well, which would be marvellous. And obviously, Mason, currently on 10 goals from 5 games, we're going to count this as a full game, which, I mean, that's a perfectly acceptable return. It would be nice if he got another hat-trick and made it 13 goals in 5 games, though. I could get on board with that. Ball, trying to play the ball over the top to Mason, but it doesn't quite get there. I hope Mason doesn't decide to stop playing now that Scott's there, ready to take over again. He was being tutored by Danny Philliskirk, but they've just fallen out. So, again, I hope it wasn't the Philliskirk effect that was making him good, and now they've fallen out. He's not going to be the same player anymore. That ball, I mean, that was just some poor defending, really. Ball over the top. We're not really alive to it. And Can should have done better with that, really. How good are Gloucester? Gloucester are, I mean, they're below us in the league. This is a game we should be winning. Mason picks the ball up very deep, tries to find Omar, who wins the header. Ball's chasing through, and it whistles past the post. That could have been a thing of beauty. A combination of lower league grunt with sublime skill if it had come off. In the end, we just got the grunt, which, I mean, that could be the subtitle for this entire season. Just add the grunt, really. Herd's very frustrated. I'm a bit frustrated as well at the moment, Nyron, because we've been playing really, really well. And then I get linked to this job that we all know I want, but I'm not going to take, because this is a story of Nuneaton. I'm not going to go disappearing off to another club. I've got a job to finish here. We've got a Champions League to win. But my head's been turned a little bit, and I just need them to appoint someone rubbish quick. Mason's been fouled there, surely. And they're going to go down to 10 men for the entire second half. It's a second booking, 45 and a half minutes into the game, and hopefully we can capitalise on that and go and grab a few goals and keep our winning run going, because if we now lose at home to a 10-men team below us in the league, all that good stuff we were saying about the team disappears. Mason's not having a good game at all. Scott's just sat there chuckling on the bench. He knows he's coming on in 5 minutes' time if Mason doesn't score, basically. Right, Omar into Mason, who just shoots straight into the Gloucester defender. Laskowski heads it forward again. Borrell back to Kaduba and Ball. We're getting some nice possession again, which we should against 10 men. Borrell is in, and again. And it was a decent save by their keeper, and I thought we might have at least got a corner out of that. Alas, 'twas not to be. But Omar intercepts, but then gets fouled. Not fouled, tackled. You are allowed to tackle cleanly, I think. Omar again to Ball. That's poor control, but he does actually get a pass through to Herd. And there's Mason, and he is going to get to stay on the pitch. It's 11 goals in 5 games now for Livesey Mason. Poor old Cedwyn Scott. We might never see him play for us again. It's a lovely finish as well. Ball over the top from Ball. It wasn't actually, it was into Herd. I don't even remember the goal we've just scored. But Mason's just hit that really hard. It's not been well placed at all, but it's been hit so hard that their goalkeeper didn't stand a chance. And now we've got our tails up. Here we go. Ball over to Herd, to Mason. It's 2-1. Cedwyn Scott, you may as well go jump in the shower. You ain't getting near this team, sir. Mason gets his 12th in 5 games. Just mental saying that. He's on for his 3rd hat-trick in 5 games as well. And we've now turned this game around against 10 men. It's 2-1, 25 minutes to go. And hopefully we just keep scoring from here. More crosses. It's a terrible cross, but for some reason they decide to keep it in. And it's Herd into Omar. And that's 3-1. And Omar runs off doing the chicken dance. It's his 10th goal of the season. And it's a lovely little finish, actually. It's a well-worked goal. I don't know why they keep this in play here, rather than just letting it go out. He couldn't have known there was no one behind him. But Herd across, I thought Herd was going to thwack it and show you his long-range prowess again. But he spotted Omar making his little run. And I think that's Omar's first goal since moving out onto the wing. So that'd be nice if he starts weighing in with some goals from out there. Right, substitutions. Can's got an injury. It's a hand injury. I think hands are quite significant to goalkeepers, aren't they? So I'm not going to bring him off because goalkeeper substitutions are always a disaster. But we're only going to make 2 other substitutions. So Abrazezi's going to come on at left back. And we're going to bring on... Oh, we haven't got Philliskirk on the bench. Oh, well, that's sad. Should we stick Cedwyn Scott out on the left wing and tell him to think about what he's done? We'll bring Cowans on for Kaduba then. Just because I have to make a substitution. I have to make a second substitution. I can't go into the rest of the game with only 1 substitution made. I'll get a nosebleed. Can seems to have recovered from his hand injury. It's not showing on there. Is it showing on the tactics screen still? Yeah. So he's only injured when we have a close look at him, so he's probably all right. But I want to see a Mason hat-trick now. Almost said Scott. Sedwin who? This is all about Mason these days. He's the main man around these parts. Right, here we go again. Another attack. Ball out to Omar. He's got loads of space to run into. Can he beat his man? No, he's just absolutely clobbered. And they should come away with the ball, but instead knock it around a little bit at the back and then lump it forward and miss by an absolute mile. I mean, that's welcome to the non-league. That was glorious. Are we going to get another opportunity? I'd love to see Mason get another hat-trick. Hurd has a hat-trick of assists today, by the way. How good has Nyren Hurd become as a box-to-box midfielder? He has been wasted all season playing as the deep-lying playmaker, and they've got a goal back, and we need to be a little bit afraid, because with 4 minutes of time added on, they're going to come at us now, and 3-3 against 10 men below us in the league. That's almost as bad as losing to them. We need to make sure that doesn't happen. It's because I mocked him for his terrible miss before. He's got back at me by grabbing a goal. But hopefully we can hold on from here. I don't know what it does to league position. I haven't had a look. It would put us up to just 8 points out of the playoffs. So this is a difference maker. Let's just have a little look at that league table to finish off. We're actually closing up some ground with this win. If we ever get to see the league table, I'll be able to prove that to you. So Boston, who we play next, are on 54 points. We're on 46. So we're 8 points behind Boston right now. I'll win in our next game. We can close that gap to 5 points with 12 games left to go. The playoffs is on, boys and girls. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.